Okay.
I live in Europe now,
Okay.
but I'm from Melbourne, Australia. And
Okay.
sorry, is your name Nahari or Das?
Yeah,
Nahari, right? Is
Norhari
your
Das. Yeah. Actually, my
okay,
title is Das and full name is Norhari.
Nahari. Okay. And so, have you been to Australia before?
No. Not
Wow. And where do you plan to go?
actually after my PT exam, I'll be applying for my 485 visa.
No, I understood that, but do
Okay.
you know which part of Australia you would like to
A,
live in?
no, actually, I will try for regional area of the Australia.
All
Actually by the profession, I'm a
right.
pharmacist.
Right. Oh, you're a pharmacist. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
So
Okay.
I need a registration in the Australia to work in my pharmacist sector. So I need this PT English test.
So what score do you need to achieve to get the
Actually,
visa?
I need overall 70. I need 70 in each band.
Okay. And have you done a PTE exam before?
No, sir. Actually, I did not have.
Have you done any practice ones?
Yeah, I had practice. Actually, right now I'm practicing in AP Uni and some of the other site like Alpha PT.
Right. Oh, great. Yeah, we partner with Alpha PT. Hi,
Yeah.
Enrico.
Hello, Josh.
Hi.
Good
How are
evening.
you?
I'm doing good. How about you there?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Well, where are you? Where are you at the moment, Enrico?
I'm in the Philippines at the moment.
Beautiful. And you're preparing for a PTE exam?
I'm planning to have I'm planning to take my PTE by next month. I'm preparing for a review.
Okay, right. Okay, great. And okay, so have you done a PTE exam before?
Not yet. This is my first.
Okay, all right. So both you and Hari are doing it for the first time. Do you know what PTE score you're aiming for, Enrico?
I'm aiming for 65 each band.
Like, could you have the PTE score that you need? Do you know?
65 each band.
Okay, so both of you are aiming for a pretty high score. And just to go back to what Nahari I was just wondering if you had completed any practice exams and got, it's not, I know it's not official, but like from Alpha or Ape Uni, if you got a score, if you have any idea what level you're at now.
Yeah,
Actually,
recently. Okay. Can I talk?
okay,
Actually,
yeah, you can go ahead.
recently I gave one of the mock test in the AP Uni. Then I
Uh-huh.
scored 65 in each of the sections.
Oh, great.
Like
Okay.
67 I got the in speaking, and other module I got the like 69 and 70 like listening and reading.
Great. Okay, good.
That's
Good.
good.
So you're not far away.
Good start.
Yeah. And what about you, Enrico?
Me, I just had my mock practice last week with Alpha. However, since
Yeah.
that is my first to have my practice in Alpha at the same time with PTE, I only have like 49.
Right. Okay. Okay. So, but it was just your first one. So you're just starting
Yeah,
out.
it's
That's
my
okay.
first, and I haven't practiced anything, any drills. I directly done the mock test immediately.
Okay. Good to know. All right, guys. Look, we're going to just wait maybe a couple more minutes to see if anybody else turns up. And if not, then we will get started. Okay. I should tell you, Enrico, because I started recording before you came in, that this class is being recorded. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Josh.
All right, cool. So Nahari said that he's trying to get his 458 visa to live and work in Australia. What about you, Enrico? What's the purpose of your PTE exam?
I'm planning to work in New Zealand.
New Zealand.
I'm
Okay.
preparing,
Do you know
yes.
where would you like to work in New Zealand? Do you know?
Not yet, but I have a classmate. She's already working there.
Okay, cool. Okay, another thing I want to let you know, I'm a bit sick at the moment, so my voice might sound a bit croaky and maybe I'll cough a little bit, but I'm okay. But I just wanted to warn you, if I start coughing, it's just because I'm a little bit sick. And I had one other question for you, and that is, how did you guys hear about e-English? How did
Actually,
you
I
hear?
saw actually I saw your advertisement in the social media in Facebook. So
In
through the
Facebook?
Facebook, yeah, yeah. So through the
Okay,
Facebook, I able to join your this online class. I
cool. And you, Enrico?
Same thing. I was find your Facebook account a while ago, and I sent an email. I registered it through the Facebook.
Right. Okay. So you found an email. Okay, cool. All right, guys. I have a feeling that it might be just the two of you today, but that's okay. Look, let's just wait another minute or two, but then we'll get started. Okay. Um, so you both said so far you've been using Ape Uni and Alpha Uni. Is that correct? Alpha PTE, I
yeah,
should
yeah.
say.
Hello, yeah.
Alpha, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so actually we highly recommend using those sites. We are not a replacement for practice material. We think practice material is absolutely great and necessary, and you need to do as many practice questions and exams as you can. So that's not what we specialize in. We're all about teaching here. So really giving you that teacher feedback and guidance that you can't get from just doing practice questions, just so you know. So that, and we really think that the combination of the two, of doing the practice material with Alpha PTE, doing the practice questions, many different types and times of all the different practice questions and mock exams, coupled with actual classes with professional teachers, is your best way to achieve your ultimate score, target score in your PTE. So I just want to make that clear. All right, guys, you know what? Let's get started. I think that you're it for today. So that's lucky. You got almost a private lesson today. Okay, so I'll tell you a bit about myself first. Okay, my name's Josh, and I just want to welcome you to our exclusive live demo class for the PTE course here at e-English. So today I'll be your trainer and your host, but I'm also the person that wrote all the lesson plans for our courses. Okay, I'm a qualified teacher from Melbourne, Australia, and I've spent over 10 years teaching both in classrooms and online. And I specialize in helping students succeed in English exams like PTE, but also IELTS and TOEFL. And I'm also the person, as I said, who's written all the content that you're going to see today, as well as all the other content on our app. Okay. The point in today's session is for you to get a real taste of how our PTE classes work. And we'll get to try out some lesson material and learn some powerful test strategies. Okay. And very importantly, so what really sets us apart, as I've already mentioned, is that you get one-on-one teaching or real teaching, but we teach you strategies to approach each and every part of the exam, and you get feedback and support. Okay, that's what sets us apart. So I've actually already asked you to. Neither of you have done an official PTE exam yet, but you've done your mock exams. Have you done any other English exams like IELTS or TOEFL or anything like that?
Not yet.
No, not that.
Okay, that's okay. Not a problem at all. I'm just trying to understand where you're at. And I'm getting the feeling that you're both probably, I would call, upper intermediate to advanced level English, but correct me if I'm wrong. Does that sound, how would you describe your current English level, guys? Do you have any idea?
I rate myself. Okay, talk.
You can go ahead, Narani.
No, you can.
Okay, in my case, Josh, that's fine. In my case, I believe it's advanced since I can deal with students since I
Mhm.
am currently teaching in the
Right.
Philippines.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you're both advanced. I think from speaking to you, I've already had the chance to speak to you both for 10 minutes. Your English is both advanced. You're looking for pretty high target scores. So that's good. The reason I asked that is because sometimes in the group lessons like this, I get a real mixture, a whole array of different students. And so I have to tailor it, but you're both at the advanced end, and that's good. That's really good. All right. Another thing I really want you to know, and actually we've started really well in this idea, is that this is not just a presentation, okay? I really want it to be a demo lesson. So, and the classes are meant to be engaging, meant to, I want you guys to participate, to talk. If you ever have any questions, you ever have any comments, anything you want to say, don't be shy, just talk, okay? So I'm going to ask for you guys to participate. I'm going to get you to answer questions, and we're going to have discussions, okay? Does that sound okay to you guys?
Okay, okay.
Cool. Cool.
All right, excellent. So I think you probably have some idea because you've been practicing, but I'll just tell you a bit about the PTE exam before we get started. Obviously, as you know, it's an AI scoring exam, right? That covers 4 major skills that you need to have in English, which are speaking, writing, reading, and listening, okay? There are no interviews like an IELTS, nothing like that, and you get your results very quickly, which is why it's a very attractive exam for many students, okay? But are you both aware that there are changes that are coming to the exam in 2 days' time? Did you both know that?
Yes,
Yeah,
Josh.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. So how much have you been practicing for that already? Have you been practicing the new
I
section?
haven't practiced yet
Not yet.
because
Okay.
I haven't
yeah, not
practiced.
happening.
Summarize.
All right, that's
Yeah. 2 new section like summarize group text and respond to situation.
okay, good. That's fine. So today I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about the changes. Also, we're gonna look at a little bit of lesson material from one example lesson from one of the new questions. And also, if you're interested, and I highly recommend it, I'm going to be hosting a workshop on the changes that are coming in 2 days' time on Thursday. So that could be a good idea to join that as well. And then obviously we have these lessons in our courses to really make sure you ace them in the exam. Okay, so so basically, there isn't that many changes to the existing what was already in the exam before. Everything is still scored using AI. Okay, however, there are certain questions that are now also scored by a human. Okay, and you know what? Let me share my screen with you. So you can see, okay, so you can see that, guys, yeah?
Yes.
Yes, you can, yeah. Okay, so there are some of the bigger questions, let's say, that require you to have, some advanced content, let's say. It's not, you need to have opinions. You need to have a structured response, not just reading aloud or repeating a sentence. Some of the more in-depth questions, like describe image, retell lecture, etc., they now also have a human reviewer that marks content. Okay, so they still have AI to score your pronunciation, okay, and your fluency. Okay, so there's not going to be any bias in that, but there will be a human to mark the content. And I believe that the main reason for that is they really don't like students memorizing templates. Okay, I think you would see that there are some websites or platforms out there that say all you need to do is memorize a template and you'll ace the exam. Okay, templates have their place. I think that they're important to when you're preparing, in particular at the beginning. I think that they're really useful for that, but they obviously have their limitations and they should not be memorized for the exam, okay? And one thing I've learned as well is that if they identify that you have just memorized a template, you'll be automatically fail the exam, okay? I don't know if you guys know that, but yeah. All right, any questions at this stage?
Yeah, can we
Done.
use any special structure rather than the template? Any structure like
Very
to
good.
describe you? Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we're going to be teaching. That's a really good question, and that's exactly right. So there is nothing wrong, and actually it's ideal to use a kind of template structure, okay? The most important thing for these deeper questions, these longer questions, is for them to be structured. That's the most important thing. And so there is an element of remembering and following a consistent structure, and even memorizing some phrases. That's absolutely fine. That's great, okay? To memorize some phrases and vocabulary to make your response seem more sophisticated, more advanced. What the problem is when you're literally just repeating exactly the same thing, you're just changing one word at the end of a sentence for every question, which is what some students have tried to do in the past. That's what they're trying to get rid of, okay? But does that answer your question?
Okay.
Yeah, all right. So these are the elements or the sections of the exam that are now also marked by a human. Okay, we've got describe image, retell lecture, respond to a situation, summarize group discussion, summarize written text, write essay, and summarize spoken text. These are the two new ones. Okay, what you would have noticed is that these are all the big questions, right? Okay, that require that structure that you were talking about. Okay. So also in the write essay section, the reviewer also includes your structure, coherence, development, and linguistic range. That means the amount of vocabulary that you can use. So you don't want to be just repeating the same words over and over, especially when you're really trying to go for high scores like both of you are, okay? Okay, any other questions yet?
Like for in describe image and some like a respond to situation, is there a human involvement for checking our answer?
Sorry, repeat the question, please.
Like for in describe image, if we use any structure or any template, is it possible to check by the human our answer?
Yes, correct. For both of those, they will be checking your content. So content means they're not, the human being is not going to be listening to your pronunciation, for example, or what they're looking at is, so for example, in describe image, in write essay, any of these questions, it's important for you to be able to look at the information, analyze it, and then rewrite or summarize it, explain it to somebody. And that part is what's considered your content. Okay, so does that make sense? That the human is going to be marking just that part, okay? The part where you're giving your opinion, or you are you're giving your summary or your analysis of the information that you've seen in the question. Does that make sense?
Yeah, hello. Yeah.
Okay.
I got it.
Okay, so as we said, there's two new questions. There's summarize group discussion and there's respond to a situation. Now, as I told you, we have a workshop in 2 days' time on the 7th of August, okay, where I'll go into much more depth about each one, okay? Summarize group discussion and respond to a situation, which I think are actually really good questions, and but they're really quite different from the rest of the exam. In particular, this one, respond to a situation, really It's really unique, and I'm not covering it in today's demo free class. So I do recommend you come to that workshop, okay? So I just want to also talk about what really makes e-English different, okay? So why should you choose e-English? You get to choose all of your lessons based on your levels and goals. So as you guys would have already been doing with APE Uni and Alpha PTE, and you can choose the different questions to do your practice material. You can do the same thing on our app, except that it's actually lesson-based. So lessons are based on particular elements of the exam. So let's say I think, Nahari, that you said you need to get a 70, and I think, if I remember correctly, in 2 of the sections of the exam, you're already at about 70. But so there must be a couple of other sections that you need to improve, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So what were those sections that you needed to improve?
Actually, I'm targeting in my speaking and listening section.
Perfect. Okay, so if that's the case, if you need to work on your speaking and your listening, then you can choose to just do lessons specifically from listening and speaking. So you go to the listening and speaking section, and then you can, if you have particular elements, for example, read aloud or repeat sentence, okay, whatever it might be, read, tell, lecture, you can choose the specific lesson of that element, okay? Does that make sense? So if you really know that there's particular ones you need to work on, you can pick and choose which ones you want to do, okay?
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, and
Got it.
you can change. It's the teacher is an expert who will recommend to you what they think is best for you, but you can choose. You have ultimate flexibility, all right? You receive live feedback, and I think that's really key. I think that many students think that they can just do practice material on these websites, which is fantastic. It has its place, but they could be doing things wrong and they're never really getting it corrected. And I think that's what's really key. You get feedback from teachers throughout every lesson and at the end of every lesson, okay? Now, there's another part that's not really relevant to you guys because you're way past that, but we also have an A2 level, which is way more at a beginner level, but that's not really relevant to you. Both of you are looking at the B2 course, okay? So you want to be, we have 3 courses. The B2 is basically the highest course. It's for students who are at B2 and higher, okay? So B2 plus, anything B2 and plus, and that's, both of you are already at that level. So that's what you're looking at, okay? So I just want to actually quickly show you what the app looks like, okay, and what I'm talking about. First of all, you need to sign up. I'll just show you what the home screen of the app looks like. Okay, you have to sign up. Okay. Sign up as a student. Okay, so you can see B2 level, that's what you both want to be doing. Okay, and then once you've signed up, you put all your information in, you come in and you've got, it looks something like this. You have a dashboard, okay, and you'd need to get the subscription, okay, for whichever one you're looking at. So again, you're B2, okay? So you'd need to buy purchase that subscription, okay? Once you've done that, then you can put in the dates that suit you. All right, so let's say you want to do lessons, you've bought your lessons and you want to book in some lessons over the next 2 days or next week or next 2 weeks. You put in the correct date and then you search, okay? Hopefully, eventually the teachers pop up. Okay, so then you're looking, you go out and you can choose which teacher works best for you, okay? So you can also choose, you can change teachers if you need to, if you want to, okay? And you pick on a teacher, you view the teacher, you look at what they've been doing, and you can book in based on their availability and what works best for you. Is that clear?
Yes, Josh.
Yeah, got.
All right, guys. So that's just a bit of a walkthrough for the app. Okay. Now let's get down.
If I
to,
may ask, Josh,
yeah, of course.
with these things that you are telling us right now, is it applicable for uh any gadgets like mobile phone?
Very good question. Yes, you can use your mobile phone. Absolutely. That's a really good question, actually. You can use your mobile phone as a student, no problem. Yeah, you can. You can. I think in general, personally, I like to use a laptop or a tablet just because I have more screen space. But yeah, it is mobile compatible. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, any other questions?
None.
Okay, cool. So guys, let's look at a lesson, shall we? I think I've done a lot of talking. I'm sorry about that. Let's have a look at what a lesson looks like. All right, so we're going to start with describe image. I'm sure you're both familiar with it. It's an element that a lot of students have problems with, but you don't need to, okay? So this is what a normal lesson plan looks like. You have an exam tip. You get really useful vocabulary that is unique to whichever question it is that you're working on, okay? And then this is what's really important. And I think what really makes the lesson plans special, okay? And that is we provide each lesson, or most lessons provide 3 strategies, okay? So students often do questions and they do their practice questions, which is all great. As I've said many times, all great. But sometimes you really need a structured approach to get the most out of a question, to do your best, okay? And so we provide in our lessons strategies to do that. So this is just an example, okay? In this lesson plan, we're looking at describe image. And so you're going to see, I'm just going to scroll down so you can see a little bit. We have strategy 1, okay? Use the first 25 seconds to focus on the main ideas and key features. So if we were doing this lesson, and it's a 50-minute lesson, so we'd spend the first part of the lesson really working on how we use our preparation time, those 25 seconds, okay? We look at the graph. Okay, this is the graph we're looking at. And in that 25 seconds, we need to identify the main points. So why don't we have a go at that? Maybe Enrico, could you please tell me, if you're looking at this graph, you've only got 25 seconds, what are the main things you would identify that, you can say, okay, this has to go into my response?
It's the monthly sales data.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's for sure. That's what the graph is. But what are the main points of the graph that we're looking at? Like, because let me give you a piece of advice I think is very useful, and it's very useful not just for describe image, but also write essay, retell lecture. You need to think about, imagine the person you're explaining this to, you're writing to, you're speaking to, they can't see the graph, okay? So what are the main ideas or key takeaways from this map that you would tell, from this graph, I should say, sorry, that you would tell a person who can't see it? Does that make sense? What are the most important things that this graph is telling us? So have a go.
Perhaps the sales of something like a gadget or that they have done in a monthly basis.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like it's some kind of gadgets, electronics. That's right. And okay, what about you, Nahari? can you, what do you think are the main takeaways from this graph?
Actually, when I see this image, I can say that it is one type of the line graph, and it is about the monthly sales data for 2023. And
Mhm.
there are months at the bottom of the image, like from January to December. And similarly, on the left of the image, I can see some of the units in the numbers, that is from 20 to 60. And from June to July, there is the highest number of the units. And similarly, in the January, there is 20 units, that is the lowest point. And apart from this, and there is a median range like the 30 in the August, that I will include.
Perfect. No, that's exactly what I was looking for. Okay. Enrico, what I was trying to get you to identify is, yeah, of course, it's very important to mention we're talking about monthly sales. We're talking about number of units sold. Also, really good that you point out, Nahari, it's 1 year. It's from January to December. What was really important is you identified the low point, the high point, which remains for 1 month. Then another thing that is probably quite unique about this map is it drops very rapidly, okay? And then kind of fluctuates until this point. So you got, in any graph or anything like that, you want to identify the low point or the lowest number, the highest number or the highest point, where it ends, and any other sort of special events, let's say, or information that is shown on the graph or the image, okay? So we've got our low point, high point, rapid drop, fluctuation, and then we end here, okay? So my point is that this is the first strategy we would look at in this lesson. How do we identify these main points on this particular graph? And then, of course, when you have more time, we do it for other graphs, other types of graphs. So it might be here, what is the lowest number? What is the highest? So what is the lowest market share? What's the highest market share, for example? And here, it's a different type of line graph and a bar graph, okay? We're not doing that now. We're going to stick with this graph. I'm just showing you that this strategy works for any type of graph or image, okay? So the first part is how we do that, okay? And that's the first part, okay? We look for, so in the strategy one, we've got our 25 seconds and we look for our overall trend, okay? So it increased steadily in the first half of the year, which is just what you said, Nahari, peaked in July and then it fluctuated in the second half. We have to identify our key features. Now, of course, in 25 seconds, you might not write every single little bit down, but you should be able to identify the main features. Okay, we have our high point, our low point, and our sharp decline, but we ignore, and this is important, it's not just what you say, it's also what you don't say, all right? What PTE is trying to understand is if you can identify what's important and leave out what's not important. I think some weaker students, sometimes they just try to say everything they can possibly identify, even if it's not relevant or not what's being asked. And so it's actually very valuable and it's going to get you better scores if you can leave out what's not important. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got it. So, Mr. Jose, what will be the ideal timing to speak for each describe image? Like there will be maximum for 40 seconds. Can
Yeah,
we speak from 30 to 35 seconds?
absolutely. Yeah. I wouldn't be going less than that, but yes, absolutely 30, 35 seconds is good because you have to remember if you're cutting it short, you don't want to go over the time. I think 30 to 40 seconds is perfect. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Because after the recent changes, like from the 7th August, I saw
Yeah.
there in the describe image, it is containing the highest mark in the speaking section. And in the content section, in the describe image, it giving the about 6 point
Yeah,
compared to
that's
the
exactly right.
pronunciation and compared to the pronunciation and the fluency, content is containing the highest mark in the describe image only. And
That's
describe
right.
image contain the highest mark among all the sections in the speaking area.
That's right.
Like,
So, and in all the speaking, sorry, not all the speaking, in all these new questions that I talked about, not new questions, I apologize, the ones that are now being marked by humans as well, it's really this skill, this strategy that I'm mentioning now, being able to identify the main ideas and summarize them succinctly, concisely. In other words, not just talking nonstop, but just focusing on the main points. It is incredibly important for any question that is where content is marked. That's exactly what they're marking when they say content, okay? What we're talking about now. Does that make sense, guys?
Yes.
Okay, so that would be that's strategy one. Okay, now for and also, sorry, another part of strategy one is our structure. Okay, sorry, no, that's further down. The structure comes later. Sorry, the structure is the third strategy. Is there someone new here? No. Yeah. Okay, we do have somebody else has joined us. Chris, can you hear me, Chris? Just let me know if you can hear me, Chris. Like you can just raise your hand or write in the chat or unmute yourself and just say, yep. All right, never mind. I'll continue. Okay, so that's strategy one, right? Strategy one, we've worked on, and of course, in a real class where there's more time, you'd go more in depth and the teacher will give you feedback and you'll do that together. Strategy two in this lesson is using accurate vocabulary for graphs and pictures. So, for example, in the graph we were just looking at, we were talking, what sort of graph is it, Nahari? It was a?
This is a pie chart.
Yeah, the one before, the one we were talking
line
about.
graph. Line graph.
Exactly. So when we're talking about a line graph, this sort of, when we talk about, because line graphs, they move, not like a pie chart. Pie charts don't move, but line graphs move. And therefore, it is really important to have a rich vocabulary you can use to describe the movements, whether it rises. Does it rise quickly? Does it increase rapidly? Does it decrease slowly or gradually? Yeah. Does the line remain stable? In other words, does it not move very much for a few months? Does it plummet? Plummet means to go down very quickly. Okay, so some really useful vocabulary. And so again, in the lesson, you'll learn about this vocabulary. And of course, you're not expected to memorize them instantly, but you can take these words and you can use them, and you can use them in your practice questions that you do, but also we'll practice using them in the lesson. Okay, so that might be a matter of changing one word for another. So for example, here's an example sentence. The graph shows a sharp increase in sales from January to March, followed by a gradual decline in April. Could you maybe, Nahari, tell me how, using a different vocabulary, how can we say the same thing, just using a couple of different words, just to mix it up a bit?
Same word what in other sentence, right?
So same sentence, so the same information, but
Okay.
you could change the words that are in bold into a different word, just to show that you can describe things in different ways. But there's another thing that you're being tested on, is your ability, your lexical or your vocabulary, how big it is, how many different types of words you can use. Okay.
According to the graph, it can be identified there is a highest increases in the sales from the January to March, and there is a gradual decline or decrease.
Okay. Yeah. So okay, good. So you're right, because it's actually showing the words that are in here. But different words we could use is things like the graph shows a quick growth in sales. Okay, sharp increase, quick growth, rapid increase, things like that. Slow decline. Okay. All right. So that is strategy 2, and then strategy 3, and this is really, really important, is structure. So when you do your describe image, guys, when you've been practicing, do you use a structure or do you just speak?
Yeah, I use a structure.
Good. Okay. What about you, Enrico?
In my case, I haven't practiced anything yet with this describe image.
Okay, great. So this will be really useful for you then. What I want you to
Thank you.
take away from this is that, and again, this doesn't apply only to describe image. This is useful for describe image. It's useful for retail lecture. It's useful for any of those questions that we talked about that are being marked for content. Having a structure, okay, that looks very much like an essay structure is essential. It's really important. You have to have an introduction where you put, what the graph is, which you both mentioned. We've got our monthly sales data. It's the month of 2023, and it's telling us this. The body, what do we put in the body, guys? What do you think we put in the body? If we're still talking about that line graph from the beginning, what's that body information?
The highest point,
Yeah.
and similarly the lowest point, followed by there is a median range.
That's right.
We can.
That's right. So the point is, in those 25 seconds that we talked about, and that's strategy 1, you should have, you've got your, what the graph is, which is already there. You don't really need to write that down. You just have to copy the sort of the name, what it is. What you want to get down is the key points of the graph. That goes into your body. And then a conclusion is just the summary. So you should never introduce anything new into the conclusion, okay? You just want to say, overall, there was an upward trend or something like this in this specific graph. Overall, there was a positive increase or was an upward trend in sales. However, there was quite a bit of fluctuation throughout the year, something like that. But the point is, in those first 25 seconds, you can pretty much have this all planned. So you've got what the graph is, you've got your main ideas, key takeaways that you put in, and then once you've got that idea, then you think, okay, what are some different words, some rich vocabulary I can put in to make my response sound more advanced? Does that make sense, guys?
Yes, Josh, but I have a
Yeah.
question regarding this structure, because a while ago, before we started our discussion regarding the structures, or if you do have templates that you are following with,
Yeah.
so and since right now you're telling us, I mean, you're telling a while ago that uh starting August 7th or August 8th, that there will be a human checking, if I may correct. So
Yeah.
would I mean, is there any way that these things that you are telling us right now would it would be uh evaluated the same thing that you have saying a while ago, or since we are following a structures
Mhm.
or template
Okay.
somehow?
Let me show you what I mean. A very good question, Enrico. I understand your concern. This is not a template. Well, it's a structure template, let's say, but there's nothing wrong with following a structure. What they're talking about, and let me actually show you, because we have templates, because like I said at the beginning, templates are very useful when you are preparing, okay? Let's have a look. This is more a template, okay? The chart shows, and then you just put the topic in from start year to end year. So the chart shows monthly sales for electronics from January 2023 to December 2023, okay? This is a template where, you could memorize, and you know what? For describe image, that's okay. But the point is, if people memorize this, okay, the problem is that every image, there's many, many different types of images you can get. They're not all going to be line graphs. So even though I have different types of graphs, different examples, what you need to remember is the structure, okay? And a few good words are great, okay? Overall, good word to use in any conclusion is great, okay? The chart shows that they're good, but I'm just saying you don't want to be like a robot memorizing this and then just putting in, okay, monthly sales data, January 2023. Sure, practice using this, okay? Practice using this and learn some good words to use: increase, decrease, remain stable, high, the peak, the low point, etc. But what this is closer to the template that they don't want you to be using. But even this is not really, this is not the sort of template that students are memorizing and they're going to get 0 for, because you still have to actually put in some pretty important language, okay? But the structural template that I showed you from the lesson is not a template in the same way. I'm not suggesting here that you should be memorizing exactly what you're saying. What I'm saying is that it's important that you follow a structure when you give your answer. And that structure should be in this, laid out in this way: an introduction where you just say what the graph represents, what the image represents, the body, which has the key on the focus on the key trends and the details, and a conclusion which summarizes the overall trend. I wouldn't call that a template. I'd call that a general structure that you can use for any question that requires you to take information, analyze it, and summarize it, and give a summary back. Does that make sense?
I got your point, Josh. So in a short uh in a short way of the things that you explained, um, I somehow got your what you're trying to say here.
Mhm.
So maybe what we should do as an examine, I mean, as a taker, we should just like follow how the structure is, but not by word per word here on what you have, the detailed structure that you're giving us.
That's exactly right. Now,
Okay.
but I want to be clear, Enrico. I do think there is a place for templates when you're practicing, and I have made templates. Okay, let me show you again. I do think templates are really useful. I recommend learning some excellent example sentences that you can use. But note, the main point is that you're following a certain structure. So this is the introduction, okay? This part is the body, and this is the conclusion. Now, I highly recommend using this and practicing with that. But the most important thing is learning the structure and the vocabulary, because it's very possible you come to an exam and you get an image or a graph that doesn't match exactly like how you've been preparing. And then all of a sudden you freak out because what you've memorized doesn't apply to what you're doing on the exam. So I don't recommend memorizing just specific sentences, so it has to be like that. Learn the structure, learn some really useful phrases and some useful vocabulary, and have the ability to use that structure and those words in different scenarios, in different situations. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yes, Josh. Thank you so much.
All right.
I got it.
Okay, can we use the same structure in every type of the image, right? Like in the bar graph or line graph.
Very good question. Very good question. The structure, yes. When you talk about introduction, body, and conclusion, yes. Every time you're presenting a summary of information, I think it's a good idea to introduce what you're talking about, give the main points or the body that you're talking about, and then a quick conclusion at the end. So absolutely. But obviously, depending on the type of image you're given, it's going to look quite different. Okay. So for example, we have a bar chart template. Well, for a bar chart, okay, well, actually bar charts are a little bit like a line graph. So they can fluctuate and they go up and down. But if we look at a pie chart, okay, it's very, very different. You don't get fluctuations throughout a year, right? It's looking at a set point in time. So it's going to look very different, but you still have to have some kind of introduction. The image shows smartphone market share in 2025. You still have to have your body, okay, which is notice, highest share, followed by beta. So in this specific example, we've got our two top market shares. That's important that's the body information for this graph, okay? And we have our lowest, right? And then we have our very short, concise conclusion. So it's following the same structure, introduction, body, conclusion, but the input into that structure is going to be very different. The same, you could get a map or a picture, okay? It's a lot more difficult to have a specific template of memorizing specific sentences for a map or a picture, but you can still have the same structure of an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. Okay?
Okay. Same case like in the cycle process, like the something given like the life cycle of the tomato.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Like the introduction, body, and conclusion, right?
That's right. That's absolutely right. And but I want you to realize it's actually, this is a strategy you can use for any question that requires, content, a full summary, not just describe image. They all need to have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. All right, guys, we spent a lot of time on describing image, which is absolutely fine. But I just wanted to show you. So this is an example of a lesson plan. Okay, we have our 3 strategies. Then when we finish going through those 3 strategies, you have, am I looking at the right? Yeah, you have practice material you can go on to, okay? So we have at the end some extra practice questions you can work on, okay? That you do, again, with the teacher, all right? You go through it with the teacher. So if you need to have support from the teacher to answer these questions, that's fine. If you just want to have a teacher who is there to give you feedback at the end, once you finish it, that's also fine. That's exactly what the teacher's there for, okay? And then obviously you always get proper feedback and review at the end of every lesson. So that's just an example of a describe image lesson, okay? Let me now show you a newer lesson, okay, for summarize group discussion. Now we're running out of time, so we won't spend as much time on this as we did for describe image, but let's have a look, okay? So you'll see, again, it looks quite similar, all right? This lesson focuses on your listening comprehension. That's really important. Your ability to group ideas. This can be, I actually think that once you get used to this question and you've done a bit of practice, it's not as hard as it looks, okay? But initially it can seem a bit daunting, a little bit intimidating, because the audio goes for about 3 minutes, okay? And you need to speak for up to 2 minutes. So that's quite a significant period of time. But what's key for this, and this is the strategy, one of the strategies that we will be teaching for this lesson, is note taking, okay? So anyway, we have our exam tip. We've got some useful vocabulary, okay, that is, for example, perspective. When you're talking about different people talking, everyone has their own perspective. So anyway, we have our important academic vocabulary. And then we get down to our strategies, okay? So in this lesson, our strategies are using active listening, so making sure that you can really focus on what is discussed in the discussion, in the group discussion, all right? But what I want to show you today is this strategy, okay? And that is note-taking, all right? How do we take notes when you've got 3 different people talking or discussing one issue? Well, there's a couple of different ways you can do it, okay? Let me just see. Okay. So, and I think that this is the best way to do it, okay? You have a column with a speaker. Okay, remember there's always 3 speakers, speaker 1, speaker 2, and speaker 3. You've got the main points. Notice again, it's very important that you identify the main points, okay? and you write down the main argument, the main point that that speaker is making, and then any supporting ideas that, you know, back up their argument, their main point. Okay, you do that. So rather than having to just write down notes endlessly, what you do is you set this up before the audio starts. Okay, you learn, again, this is something that you should memorize. Okay, you're not memorizing sentences, you're memorizing a structure. Okay, you're memorizing, and it's not really memorizing, you just learn. It's quite simple to make this little table, or even just a line. You put 1, 2, 3, main points and supporting ideas. Okay, that's one way you can do it, and that's in this specific lesson plan, because remember, we have multiple lessons, and in another lesson we go into more depth about note taking, where there are other options, because perhaps you want to take notes in a different way. Okay, and we have some other ideas on how to do that. But generally speaking, I think that this is a good way to go about it, that you just take notes based on the speaker, because in some of these discussions, it will be, you'll have speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 3, and then again speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 3, and then maybe again speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 3. But it's also possible that you have speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 3, and then back to speaker 2, and then back to speaker 1. So you have to be out. It's always clear who the speaker is, because they'll have different accents, or that one will be a male and then a female, etc. But it's easy to get lost unless you have a really good structure for taking notes. Does that make sense, guys?
Yes, I got it.
Okay. Any questions?
So what will be the ideal range for speaking this summarized spoken text? Like how long we have to speak? Like 1 minute, 1.5 minutes?
I would say between 1.5 to 2 minutes. You need to speak for quite a while, okay? And that's why, again, note-taking is so important, and why your structure is important. So also the structure that we've just talked about in Describe Image, it applies to this too, okay? You still need to have an introduction, and then the main points of each speaker, it makes up your body. So the body is going to be longer, and it's significantly longer than Describe Image, but you still have to have your introduction, where you are giving an introduction to what the discussion is about, and maybe mentioning that the speakers either didn't agree at all, or they agreed on some things but not others, for example. And then the body is all about what each speaker, what their main points were, and their supporting ideas. And then we put that summary, that conclusion at the very end. Okay, does that make sense? Why don't we? Yeah, does that make sense, guys?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So why don't we have a quick listen to an audio, and even why don't you, if you have a pen and paper or another document ready, why don't you just, don't copy this part, but just make a quick table where you have speaker, main point, and speaker 1, 2, 3, and try and take some notes. And we can talk about those notes after. Could you just, if you have that ability, just do that now?
Okay. I'm ready.
Okay. Are you ready, Enrico? You also ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, let's do it. So let's listen audio 2. No, audio, let's listen audio 1. Audio. Please. Oh, it's the wrong one. Okay, doesn't matter. That's okay. We'll listen to a different audio. Absolutely fine. Okay, here we go. Yeah.
It hasn't really been a challenge for me. I've always been quite organized, and I use a digital calendar to keep track of assignments and classes. I even block out time for studying, relaxing, and social activities.
You can hear that, guys, right?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Okay.
It gives me peace of mind, and I rarely miss deadlines. That said, I still sometimes feel like there's not enough time for everything, especially when multiple assignments are due close together. But I try to start early and avoid distractions, so I can stay on top of things.
It's the opposite for me. I struggle with managing time because I tend to leave things to the last minute. I know I should plan ahead, but I usually just react when the pressure is on. I often underestimate how long tasks will take, which means I stay up late or hand things in late. I've tried apps and to-do lists but haven't been consistent with them. Also, I get easily distracted, especially when I study at home. Sometimes I plan a study session, but then I waste time on social media. I think I need to build better habits.
I think I fall somewhere in the middle. I do plan ahead, especially for big projects, but sometimes I overschedule myself and it becomes stressful. I want to do everything, study, part-time work, volunteering, but I sometimes feel overwhelmed. Still, having a to-do list helps me prioritize. One thing that helps is planning weekly rather than daily. That way, I have some flexibility if things don't go perfectly. I've learned to be a bit more realistic with my time.
One trick I've learned is to check my calendar each night and make a simple list for the next day. That makes me feel organized and helps me sleep better. Also, I've learned to say no to extra events when I know I'm busy.
I'm trying to get better. I've recently started using the Pomodoro technique. 25 minutes of focused work, 5-minute break. It's helped me avoid long stretches of distraction. It's not perfect, but it's a start.
I've actually started using color-coded calendars, which helps me see where my time goes. I find that it helps me balance different responsibilities. I've also stopped trying to multitask because that never works for me.
Okay, so guys, as you can see, that's actually a 2 minutes and 20 seconds. That's not even a full length one because it's just for the lesson. But you can see it can be quite a long length of time, right? So how did you go with your note taking there?
Yeah, like for like the first speaker, main point like revising, socializing, peace of mind, and supporting like information. Not enough time for the multiple type of the assignments to be done for the speaker one. So he used to avoid, and he also had no time to organize. Like similarly
Yeah.
in the speaker two, she always used to plan ahead. Like
I think it mixed
spe-
up the things. I think speaker one was the woman, no? And speaker two was the man, isn't that right?
yeah, actually this one is the first time. So I also got the mumble who
That's
he
okay.
who
That's absolutely okay. No problem. Yeah, my point is it's not easy, right?
yeah.
It gets easier once you practice it. Look, we don't have time to go through the whole thing now, but I'm just trying to give you some examples of what a lesson would look like. Okay,
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
you would go through listening to the audios, and obviously there's several in this lesson, and we do our note taking, and you compare with the teacher. The teacher will help you with your note taking, and then obviously you'll give a response, right? Again, I'm sorry we don't have time to go for you each to give a full length response, but that would be great. You could do that in a lesson with the teacher, get feedback, proper feedback on what you've done well in your response, what's been good about your note taking, what you could improve on. And just quickly in that described image lesson, sorry, actually, it's not in that described image lesson. I mix it up. But another thing that's really useful, and we definitely do this in some of our lessons when it comes to summarized group discussion, etc., is using abbreviations. Okay, that's another story, but very useful. But again, we have some suggested useful phrases you could use. So there's a lot that will help you in your practice. And this is what a good response to the audio we just listened to, what a good response might look like. Okay. The group discussed different approaches to managing time at university. There's your introduction. Okay. It doesn't have to be long, but it tells you what the audio was about. The group discussed different approaches to managing time at university. The body for summarized group discussion is quite long. It goes all the way down to here. One speaker explained that she uses a digital calendar and plans everything in advance, which helps her feel organized and meet deadlines. In contrast, that's a good little expression to use. Another speaker admitted he struggles with procrastination and often leaves tasks until the last minute, despite trying tools like to-do lists and productivity apps. Okay, so procrastination, that's probably a main idea. Leaves tasks to the last minute. Okay, and some supporting arguments might be, tried tools like to-do lists and productivity apps, etc. The third speaker mentioned feeling overwhelmed by her schedule, but said planning on a weekly basis and prioritizing tasks has helped her stay more balanced. Overall, that means, what does that word mean? If you see that, what part are we coming up to?
Conclusion, the last part.
Yeah. So overall, the speakers shared a range of strategies from structured routines to flexible planning and highlighted the both challenges and solutions related to time management. Okay. Again, this is actually a pretty short model response because the audio that we listened to wasn't 3 minutes, but that's where you want to be getting to. The point is we still have our structured response, but to be able to fill out the body on this, you really need to work on your note taking, okay? And so for a big part of summarized group discussion is all about perfecting your note taking. And that means having a good structure, learning to listen actively, and taking down important notes using things like abbreviation, only using keywords like nouns and verbs, okay? You don't need, for example, when you're taking notes, you don't need to use words like and, okay? Which, that's just going to take up time. It's not useful. What you need are things like you write down digital calendar, uses digital calendar, yeah? Plans, feels organized, meet deadlines, yeah? Procrastination, that's a key word. Leaves tasks until the last minute. That's a pretty important expression. I'm just trying to show you things that you will learn in these lessons are learning about what's important to work on, what you should leave out, and strategies that you can use to keep getting better at every single part of the PTE exam and noticeably improve your score until you get that target score that you need and you ace your exam. Okay, that's what we're all about. And I hope that showing you just a couple of the strategies that we use, it's a bit clearer what we're all about at E-English and how we can help you reach your target score. Okay. That kind of brings us to the end of today's session. Do you have any questions that you wanted to ask me?
Okay, what will be the ideal range for to speak this summarized group discussion? Like, hello?
Yeah, I'm listening.
What will be the ideal range, or how long we have to speak for this summarized group discussion?
I think you want to be speaking for about a minute and a half to up to no more than 2 minutes, but about a minute and a half to 2 minutes.
Okay.
Did you have any questions with regards to the app, E-English in general? Anything? How did you find today's session? Do you think it was helpful for you?
Yeah, actually, it is really helpful. Mainly this summarized group discussion because it is really new to me.
Yeah. Do you think are you interested in getting some lessons with E-English?
Yeah, I'm looking forward.
Okay. What about you, Enrico?
Yeah, it's very informative today's class that we have right now. Yeah, I have a plan in enrolling in this e English.
Yeah.
Yeah, and somehow it's very informative for me. It helps me to have an idea about summarizing group discussion right now.
Yeah.
Since I believe this is a new exams that will be coming this August 7th, right?
That's right. That's right.
Okay, it's very helpful.
Okay, so I know that for a very limited time, if you purchase a course with English now, you get 40% off. So if you're interested in signing up, I suggest you do that sooner rather than later, so that you can get the 40% discount on the course that you purchase. Okay. I'll just remind you as well that we have a workshop this Friday on the changes to the exam. So I'll be going into more depth about the summarized group discussion and also respond to a situation. So it sounds like both of you are really interested in learning more about the new tasks. So I suggest you come to that. And Hannah will send you, if you haven't already received the link to the workshop for Friday, she'll send that through, and also the discount code for the courses if you would like to purchase a course, so that you can really make sure that you reach your target PTE scores that you're aiming for. Okay. Any
Okay.
questions? Any questions or comments?
No.
None, Josh. I just want to say thank you for this sessions that you made us for free today, this evening, and I'm very grateful for the ideas that you imparted to us.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you for that, Enrico. I appreciate that. I wish you guys the best. Thank you for coming, and I hope to see you on Friday at the workshop for the changes to the PT exam. And I hope to see you as students on the e-English website soon too, so we can teach you more and get you prepared for your PT exam, so you can ace the exam. All right, guys?
Okay,
Okay.
thank you so much, Josh.
Nice to meet you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.